Finally, some good news out of the elections last night. So we had voting in the Northeast, and for example, Bernie Sanders lost 4 out of 5 states, including the very important state of Pennsylvania, and the second largest state that was up for grabs last night was Maryland. But out of Maryland, we had some great news. And I'm going to tell you about that. It is about the candidate, Jamie Raskin. First, let me tell you about the race overall. The Democratic primary for the 8th District of Maryland was one of the closely watched congressional races in the country, and also the most expensive. The crowded field spent a total of $14 million in the race since last year, according to Baltimore Sun report of FEC data. Now, I want to give you a quick context here. $14 million in the old days would have been a lot for a Senate race. Now they're doing it for House races. $14 million for a primary of a House race, okay? So the three main candidates, there was a ton of candidates, but the three main ones were Jamie Raskin. He got way outspent. He only spent $806,000 in the last count. Kathleen Matthews, who was a former lobbyist and wife of Chris Matthews from MSNBC, spent $1.7 million. And David Trone, who's a businessman, jumped in and spent $9 million of his own money. Okay, so how did it turn out for those guys? Sorry, Jamie Raskin, the winner. All right, he got 34%, the Trone's 27%. Ooh, Kathleen Matthews, a third at 24%. Sad day. Okay, so now why is that? You know why? Because he's an actual progressive. And he campaigned as a progressive. He didn't apologize for it. He didn't say like, oh no, but I'm going to pivot to the center. And no, but I love corporations. But don't worry, I'm going to be pro-business. And I'm a war hawk. Don't get me wrong, I will start wars. That's the conventional wisdom in Washington, that if you're a progressive, make sure you apologize for it in elections. Well, Raskin, even though he got way outspent, said, no, I'm not going to apologize for it. Here's his record. When he was in the Maryland state legislature, he helped sponsor and pass legislation such as the Green Maryland Act, ban assault weapons in Maryland, ban death penalty in Maryland, marriage equality, equal pay for women. In other words, I am a progressive, and I'm here to represent you. Yes, you will actually have someone in the House of Representatives to represent you. Now, he's still got to win the general election, but it's a district that leans Democrat, so the primary was a more important hurdle. Now, why do I care so much about Jamie Raskin? He's good on all those issues, and those issues I care deeply about. But the main issue is you got to get the money out of politics. He's an exception that proves the rule. It is such a shocking news because here was a guy who got outspent who won an election. It doesn't happen very often. You know how often it happens? This is a fact. It happens 5% of the time in congressional elections. So 19 out of 20 times, the guy with more money wins. Only 1 out of 20 times, the guy with less money wins. And how do you do that if you run as a super strong progressive? So he literally wrote the book on getting money out of politics. It was called Overruling Democracy, the Supreme Court versus the American People. He also went and testified in front of Congress and told them why all this stuff is preposterous. Money equals speech. So corporations who are human beings, I mean, they accept this in Washington like it makes any sense. Corporations are people. They're human beings with inalienable rights. No actual human being believes that, right? And then they go further and say, oh, well, since money is speech and the human being we call a corporation has speech rights, that means he can give unlimited money, he or she. They're not people. Anyway, he or she can give unlimited money to politicians. Well, Raskin testified that that makes no sense. Let me show you that testimony.
Your other point, though, about money not equaling speech is a critical point for people to understand. I mean, there are lots of forms of purchase and exchange that we criminalize. For example, buying sex. We don't say if someone wants to purchase the services of a prostitute, well, that's just an expression of their speech, because when we look at what the social meaning and context of the use of money in that way is. And I think even Mr. Abrams and the people on the other side on this issue take the position that laws against bribery are okay. And it's not clear on their position why. After all, if I just feel very strongly about an issue and I want to give you $1,000 or $1 million to go my way, why shouldn't you be able to accept it? And I think it's because we believe that within the governmental process and the electoral process, there are right reasons for those who hold public office to make decisions, and there are wrong reasons. And a wrong reason is the money that you're either going to put in your pocket or huge amounts of money that you're going to put in your campaign or lots of spending that take place. So why can't we take into account the entire social context of money? So Justice Stevens has written in decision, money, of course, is not speech. Money is property. It's a medium of exchange. Speech has verbs and adjectives and nouns, and it's simply what the philosophers call a category error to mix them up.
So if you ever get caught bribing anyone, just tell the Supreme Court, no, that's okay, I was just talking to them. Money's speech, right? You get busted with a hooker, tell the cops, no, yeah, of course I gave her money, but that means I was just talking to her. I talked her into the sex by giving her the money that was my speech. So here's a guy who unabashedly decided, you know what, I'm going to fight for the causes I believe in, and we're going to get the money out of politics, and we're going to solve the systemic problem so that he's not the exception, so that people who represent you winning elections is actually the rule. So a great day for democracy that Jamie Raskin won last night.